All right, thank you for your patience. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Madison Viola, and I have Sarah Mockus, Marisa Trouts, Nydia Doolittle, and Louis Vidardi joining me behind the scenes from the SBCTA outreach team. And we also have Gary Tomasetti and Khalid Bazmi joining us today from our construction team. You are joining our virtual open house for the SR210 Lane Addition and Baseline Interchange project. A couple of items we'd like to explain before we get underway with the presentation. Today, we will be discussing overall construction progress since we broke ground in February 2020, as well as upcoming construction activities that may impact your commute through the corridor. Our webinar will be recorded and posted on our website at gosbcta.com/SR210baseline for those of you who could not join us live today. As part of the webinar feature, your microphone is automatically muted and your cameras are automatically disabled. We will be using the Q&A function to answer your questions. Our team will provide written responses in real time, and at the conclusion of the presentation, we will highlight key themes and topics from those questions. And finally, this is an informational meeting to educate you about this project. We believe all positions, positive or negative, related to SBCTA activities should have a voice in this process. However, we expect that this will be done in a respectful manner. SBCTA reserves the right to monitor, filter, and remove content or participants that our team deems inappropriate. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Zoom platform, the Q&A box can be found on the bottom of your screen. Simply click on where it says Q&A and a pop-up will appear on your screen where you can type your question. We'll respond to your questions using this feature and address overall topics and themes at the end of our presentation. You may still see the chat feature button at the bottom of the screen. However, chats will only be directed to panelists and utilized to receive more information about questions that require further research. And if you're joining us from a landline and using the call-in option, please email your questions to info@gosbcta.com. Let's get started. If you've traveled along the State Route 210 before, you've experienced the traffic bottleneck between Highland Avenue and San Bernardino Avenue. The freeway here drops from 3 lanes in each direction to 2 lanes in each direction, causing cars to slow down and increasing congestion for commuters. The SR210 Lane Addition and Baseline Interchange project will widen the freeway by adding a mixed flow lane in each direction from Sterling Avenue to San Bernardino Avenue, add a merging lane between Baseline and 5th Street, eliminating traffic backup on the freeway, add an acceleration and deacceleration lanes on Highland Avenue and 5th Street, perform slab replacement from Sterling Avenue to 5th Street, and pavement rehabilitation from 5th Street to Ligonia Avenue. A major part of this project is improving traffic operations along Baseline at the SR210 interchange in the city of Highland. These improvements include widening the street between Buckeye Street and Scene Avenue by adding an additional lane on Baseline in each direction. Dual turn pockets will also be added on the bridge to access both directions of the freeway. And the eastbound and westbound on-ramps will be widened to 3 lanes, while the westbound off-ramp will be widened to 2 lanes. Now that we've shared a project overview, we'd like to provide an update on construction. Since breaking ground in February 2020, SBCTA has been hard at work reconstructing ramps, connectors, bridges, and building new sound walls and retaining walls to accommodate the widening of SR210 and the reconstruction of the Baseline interchange in the cities of San Bernardino, Highland, and Redlands. As you can see here, the overall project construction and construction at the Baseline interchange are 60% complete at this time. And construction on the 11 bridges throughout the corridor are on average 90% complete. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Gary Tomasetti now to share a little bit more about construction that has taken place to date. Gary?
Thank you, Madison. So as Madison alluded to, we are approximately 90% complete aggregate-wise for the 11 bridges. 10 of them are slightly more of that percentage-wise complete. The photo that you see here is a photo of one of the bridge columns being constructed for the baseline interchange. This was just over 1 year ago when we started this work here. Next slide, please. Some of the major initial work that was required to do the bridge widenings was the demolition of the existing overhangs. And so this was early on in the project, almost a year ago as well. The photo on the left is the demolition that was performed on the City Creek Bridge. And the photo on the right is the demolition that was performed on the baseline bridge over SR 210. Next slide, please. Continuing on with the demolition theme, the bridge on the left was the overhang demolition for the SR 210 bridge over 5th Street. And the bridge on the photo on the right is the demolition that occurred over Sand Creek. Both of these structures are 85 to 95% complete at this point. Now we've moved on considerably from the bridge widening into a lot of the roadway construction that's part of the project. The photo on the left is the road work that's being performed to widen and add the new 3rd lane in the median along the 210. You may have seen a lot of the new concrete lane, or you may have actually driven on some of the new lane already as we've moved into different phases. The photo on the right is the subcontractor placing hot mix asphalt in the new paved median shoulder. So this slide shows, this is a view from up on top of the baseline interchange, looking down in a westerly direction of the new concrete lane that's being placed. This was when we first started placing the new concrete lanes. Most of the work in the median now for the concrete lanes has been completed on the west end of the project. There's still a slight bit to do up by Highland Avenue, but the majority of it has been completed. Off in the distance, the black that you see there, that was some temporary shoring that was put in to construct the retaining wall along the westbound on-ramp from baseline. You may have seen driving through the project now, that retaining wall is almost complete. There's one more concrete placement to be done. Next slide. So that retaining wall that I was just speaking of on the westbound off-ramp, or on-ramp rather, from baseline, the picture on the left, this was the foundation pile being driven prior to building the footing and the rest of the wall. There was 390 steel piles that were driven into the ground. A photo on the right is the crews constructing a concrete barrier for new sound walls. There are 8 new sound walls to be constructed on the project. This one happens to be off the freeway up on the top by the state right-of-way along an alleyway from a local residential area. Madison, I'll kick it back to you.
Thanks, Gary. There certainly has been a lot of work going on in the last 20 months on the project, and we're not slowing down. We have 2 major construction activities coming up: the 55-hour closure of the westbound 210 off-ramp at baseline, taking place this weekend, and construction of a temporary crossover lane on the eastbound 210, taking place early next year. The westbound 210 off-ramp at baseline will close for 55 hours from 10 p.m. this Friday, December 10th, to 5 a.m. on Monday, December 13th. This continuous closure is necessary for crews to shift the ramp to the right to accommodate the additional lane on the freeway. Crews will also shift pedestrian traffic from the north side of the bridge to the south side of the bridge during this closure. As you can see on the screen, drivers will be directed to exit the freeway and turn right on the 5th Street Green Spot Road off-ramp. From there, they will turn left onto Boulder Avenue to access baseline while the off-ramp is closed. And if you live near the ramp, you may hear construction noise related to breaking and removing of the existing asphalt, and you may also feel vibrations while crews pave the new roadway and surface of the off-ramp. And then starting early next year, crews will construct a 2.5-mile temporary crossover lane on eastbound 210 between Baseline and San Bernardino Avenue. This is necessary for crews to shift traffic to the other side of the center median and begin pavement rehabilitation on the existing eastbound roadway. In this configuration, the number 1 eastbound lane will cross over to the westbound lanes just after Baseline and cross back over to the eastbound freeway after the San Bernardino Avenue off-ramp. Drivers who are in the crossover lane will not be able to exit at 5th Street Greenspot Road and San Bernardino Avenue, but will have access to both the eastbound and westbound I-10 connectors upon re-entering from the crossover lane. The crossover lane will be in place for approximately 5 months. This is an example of a crossover lane currently in place on the I-10 Express Lanes project in the city of Montclair. And as you can see, the number 1 lane of traffic is separated from the rest of the freeway by a concrete barrier. Similar to this project, the drivers on eastbound 210 will have ample notification of the crossover lane with signage on the freeway alerting them of the upcoming traffic shift. All right, as you've heard, construction is progressing on the 210 lane addition and Baseline Interchange project and many other highway projects in the county. As you venture out onto the road, please be aware that your commute on the freeway and local streets may be different. Remember to slow down and obey the posted speed limit of 55 miles per hour. This reduced speed limit will be in place through project completion and is enforced by the California Highway Patrol. Also, please watch out for workers and construction equipment and be alert and on the lookout for new striping and shifting lanes. And please use caution while driving in construction zones. We're in the home stretch, guys. The next couple of slides are going to focus on community outreach and tools that are available to help you navigate our project. Our team and project information can be found in a variety of ways. Our information across the platforms is consistent. If there's a closure, we want you to be prepared. And if there's major activity near where you live, we want to ensure that you are informed in advance. We offer the information in a variety of ways to ensure that you can select the platform that works best for you. We have a robust website, gosbcta.com/SR210baseline, where you can sign up to receive our weekly construction alerts. We also offer a text message program to receive text alerts. You can simply text SR210 baseline to 888-525-1021 to sign up. And we're active on social media and encourage you to follow GoSBCTA on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On this slide, we have a snapshot of some of the collateral we share. The first is an example of what our weekly construction alert looks like. We send these alerts out on Friday afternoons with the upcoming week's construction activities, so you're prepared for the week ahead. These are packed with valuable information about key activities, closures, and detours. In the middle is a community notice that we distribute door to door for residents in the vicinity of where a specific construction activity is taking place. This one is an example of a notice that went out this week for this weekend's 55-hour ramp closure. And on the right is a snapshot of our project Google map, which can be found by clicking on the top photo of our construction alerts, as well as on our project website. This project has a number of different operations and activities being performed daily, and such closures are required. Most of our closures take place at night, typically between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. We always encourage you to plan ahead, allow for extra time to reach your destination, or seek alternative routes to avoid construction areas. Construction is dynamic and schedules may change, but all real-time closures and detours can be found on our project Google map. Here are a few screenshots. You can access it from the website, download or bookmark it on your computer or mobile phone, and it'll give you the most real-time and up-to-date information on closures and detours. And when you click on an individual icon, additional details will appear, identifying specific closure times, as well as the recommended detour that may be convenient for your commute. That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us today. We would also like to extend our appreciation to our partners at the cities of San Bernardino, Highland, and Redlands, some of which are attendees today. Thank you for sharing our project information with your communities and for working with our team to contribute to the success of this project. A quick reminder to please click on the Q&A button to ask questions. And if you're joining us with the call-in feature, to send an email to info@gosbcta.com. With that, we'll go ahead and take questions. Marisa, was there anything that came up that we can address live?
Sure. I wanted to ask if we could go back to the slide covering the crossover that's going to be taking place.
Of course.
Can you explain for us again how people traveling eastbound on 210 will be able to get off the freeway and kind of what the access to the off-ramps is like? And clarify if you're in the crossover that you can't exit, is that correct?
That is correct. And I'll have Gary help me out in a minute here. But drivers will have to decide if they're going to be in the number 1 or number 2 lane. There'll be plenty of signage alerting them of the crossover and the exits that they will not be able to access if they stay in the number 1 lane. Folks who are in the number 2 lane will have access to the Baseline, 5th Street, and San Bernardino exits. It's just those who are in the crossover lane will have limited access. Gary, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, you said it right, Madison. What I think is important is if you think you need to exit any of these exits, the best option is to stay in the right lane, the number 2 lane. Because once you get into the left lane, the number 1 lane, you will be in that lane until you get down to the 10 connectors, and your only option will be to get on the 10 East or the 10 West.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions that we can address at this time?
Yes, we have a question. Are there any traffic impacts within the city of San Bernardino for the 55-hour closure this weekend?
I don't believe there are, but I'll let Gary speak to that as well. I know that the Baseline ramp is in the city of Highland, but I don't believe there's any traffic impacts during the closure in San Bernardino.
That's correct. Nothing in San Bernardino.
Thank you. Can you, another question, can you tell us when construction on this project will be complete?
I'll let you go ahead and answer that one, Gary.
Sure. Construction is looking to be completed towards the end of 2022, so about a year from now. And then there will be some plant establishment, which is the landscaping that will be installed. The workers just maintaining the landscape until approximately July of 2023.
Thank you. And when is the Baseline interchange anticipated to be complete?
I guess I'll take that one, Madison. The Baseline interchange right now, it's about 60% complete. So we still have to move into the next phase of moving to work on the north side of the road and completing the on and off ramps and a lot of the bridge work. I anticipate sometime the middle of 2022 is when most of that work will be complete.
Thanks, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
I see another question regarding the crossover. With the crossover lanes, will the number of lanes on the opposite side, so westbound 210, be impacted at all?
Let me get back there, but Gary, you can go ahead.
Sure. No, there will be no impact to the westbound lanes. In fact, they will stay generally in the layout that they are currently in. If you travel the westbound direction right now, you'll see the new lane that was constructed, the new concrete lane. That's where the number 1 lane eastbound vehicles will be driving on. So there will always be 2 lanes in each direction.
Thank you. I see another question that we've received. As part of this project, are cameras being installed anywhere throughout the corridor?
Yes. There is one camera that exists at Highland Avenue. It's currently out of service due to the project. And there is another camera that's being installed by 5th Street that will be able to look in both directions. So there's one new one that's being installed.
Thank you. Okay, another question that we received. Will this project impact the traffic to the casino? And how will that impact the local cities?
Gary, I'll let you go ahead and take this one.
Okay. So currently the only impact to the casino is when Highland Avenue or Arden Avenue is closed, which has been ongoing for the last few weeks, to start removing the temporary formwork that was installed to construct the bridge widening at Highland Avenue over Highland and Arden Avenue. That work will be ongoing into January, possibly early February of next year. But other than that, the on and off ramps will remain the same. So it's the city street closures that are primarily the impact to the casino.
Thank you. Another question that we received. Are there any closures planned in 2022 along the 210 that you foresee may detour traffic onto the city of San Bernardino streets?
I can start this one, Gary. We do have nightly closures throughout the project corridor of, either full freeway, lanes, ramps, city streets. So there'll definitely be nighttime closures, and those are normally between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. There are some instances like this 55-hour closure that is coming up this weekend where we do take daytime closures. But as far as I know, and Gary, if you want to confirm, there aren't going to be any major daytime closures in the city of San Bernardino.
No daytime closures, but there will be night closures that you did talk about, whether it's individual lanes or occasionally we do have full freeway closures to support some of the work that's been going on for the new retaining walls by Highland Avenue that have been constructed, or also the bridge work.
This is just another opportunity for us to remind you to sign up for our weekly construction alerts, because we do outline all of those closures and detours each week on our construction alert and on our Google Maps.
Thank you.
Madison, can I make a point of something here, since
Oh.
we're showing the crossovers? And I know there's
Absolutely.
currently no other questions. It might be good for everybody to understand that this crossover that we're showing, that we're saying is going to last about 5 months, we will mirror this crossover once this stage is complete. And so in the westbound direction, the number 1 lane westbound will shift over onto the eastbound roadway. I'm sure we'll be sending out notices about that, but I thought it might be good to just kind of discuss that a little bit so people understand there's going to be a second half to this median crossover.
Absolutely. We'll be sharing this eastbound crossover information in our weekly construction alerts on our project website and social media in the next couple of weeks leading up to the construction activity. And then as we ramp down on this closure or this crossover and ramp up for the westbound directional one, we'll have another graphic. We'll be sharing that. We'll make sure everybody knows far in advance.
And regarding that westbound crossover, what will be the approximate duration of that configuration?
Similar to the eastbound, probably about 5 months.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see any other open questions in the Q&A or in the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Marisa. We appreciate it. And
Sure.
thank you again for joining us today. We hope that you found the information in today's presentation helpful. And just a reminder, you can email our team anytime using the info@gosbcta.com if you have any other questions or comments. And thank you very much. Have a safe and happy holiday, everyone.